Good morning and welcome to Roots and Branches. The few, the proud, the here. The here or online. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your presence and your heart. And we are, you know how on Broadway someone will do a one-man show? Well, we're having one of those here on Johnson Street today. Many think of Johnson Street as the Broadway of Anoka, so it's just like that. So I'm going to do an opening song. This is one that I wrote. You might not know. That's okay. Join in with your heart as you're able to, and the chorus is easy, so jump in when you can. You're the one whose word is true. You're the one who sees things through. Joy and hope and even fear. You are real and really near. And you see us in the place we stand today. Come what may. We are yours no matter what. Come what may, come what may. You have sealed us with your love. Come what may. You're the one whose faithfulness is perfection, nothing less. And we cherish you the most, 'cause you're the one who holds us close. And we are safe within your arms to stay. Come what may, come what may. We are yours no matter what. Come what may, come what may. You have sealed us with your love. Come what may. Not death, not life, neither darkness nor the light can ever hold you back from us. Not today, not tomorrow, all the troubles that come can silence your resounding love. Look high and look low. There's nowhere we can go. You won't be there. You'll be there. Come what may. Come what may. We are yours no matter what. Come what may. Come what may. You have sealed us with your love. Come what may. Amen. You can be seated if you're here in person, and if you're online and you had to stand up, I get it. You can sit down too. You have permission. Any kids or nursery folks who would like to join Krista for a children's church this morning are now dismissed. Yep, you can go. You're free to go. And I will invite today's host to join us. Hi, everybody. You like that? Spiral staircase installed at Roots and Branches just last week. It's pretty cool. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us at Roots and Branches today, where we are all about growing deeper in faith, reaching out in love. We've been having a great time this summer being super low-key and not stressing about getting programs up and running, just being our own selves. We have been really living into one of our core statements, kind of a motto of ours, is that we aren't for everybody, but we're for anybody. And so what we've been doing is kind of taking our foot off the gas this summer, like a lot of the folks that have volunteered faithfully for music and other things for years. We're like, you know what? Take a break. You earned it. And I'm going to transition to my head mic now. All right. And it's been really refreshing for a lot of our leaders. It means there's been fewer people in person on Sundays, and that's fine. But September is just around the corner, and as we come out of Labor Day weekend, we're gonna invite everyone back in person and share some of our vision for what's coming up this fall, because we are still in process as a church. We're still becoming the final version of ourselves. So I invite you to join into that process as we jump back in September. Next Sunday is our third and final brunch church of the summer. So join us at 10 for food. The food has been awesome every time. I look forward to it. We just pull out tables here in the sanctuary, and most of church is just sitting and eating and talking. And then maybe we'll have a prompt for a conversation around a topic around faith. And then we have communion around tables and around a meal. And so that's been a special and sacred time for me this summer, to actually not have to make anything, but to just be present and offer myself and to invite others to do the same. So join us next Sunday for brunch church right here at 10 o'clock. No live stream, because you can't live stream a waffle. So today, it's another fun thing with this summer is that I've just been doing one-off messages that are completely set apart from any kind of theme or series or anything like that. And so it's kind of whatever is on my head at the moment. And I had this memory of a debate that was a big deal a few years ago, and I feel like it never got settled. So that's what I'm going to talk about. A few years ago, there was this big debate in Christianity. Is Christianity mostly a religion or a relationship? Are you familiar with this conversation? There was this video of this really good-looking guy doing really stilted, off-putting beat poetry, but it had lots of catchy one-liners through it, like Jesus came to abolish religion, and he wouldn't gesture like that too, or like a lot of this too. And Jesus and religion are on opposite spectrums. Those words don't make sense, but it's fine. And he also said, religion says do, Jesus says done. Mic drop, right? Anyway, I'm not here to rag on him, because he got 34 million YouTube views. What have I done, right? And also, he had some really good points too along the way. Like he said, if Jesus showed up at your church, would you welcome him in? And that's a question I ask of our church and of a lot of churches too. If a wandering Middle Eastern man showed up at your church, would he feel comfortable there? Anyway, does anyone remember this video? Yeah? I remember watching it and thinking to myself, this feels like the tip of a much deeper conversation. It's a deeper conversation you could possibly squeeze into a pithy YouTube video at the dawn of viral videos and things. So today, I want to think about these two words, religion and relationship, and wonder together with you how these words serve us in understanding how we connect to God and how they don't serve us also. So we're going to start with that big word, religion. Now, it's really popular in videos and sermons like the one I mentioned
and in like the broadly evangelical world in general, to rag on religion in favor of relationship. Like, you don't need religion, you need a relationship with Jesus. But I think it's really important to name what exactly they're talking about when they say the word religion. Here's the definition of religion that they generally use, and that I used. I believed this of religion in my evangelical days. Their definition of religion is something like this: doing rituals and other acts that you think will get you on God's good side. That's generally what they mean by religious, like religious activities. And if that really was the definition of religion, then I am fully against that too. Like, I don't think that's a good practice for faith. They would say that because of what Jesus did on the cross, if we have faith, we're on God's good side, and we don't need to do religious activities to convince God any further. I would say that God would never make something that God doesn't love. That's what I would say. And God made you. And so God loves you. So you are already on God's good side by virtue of your existence, irrespective of your faith or not faith in what Jesus did on the cross. I think God already loves you. So congrats. You're on God's good side. No need to do religion. That's probably... Let me rephrase. No, I'll just move on. But here's the thing. In the words of Inigo Montoya, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. According to Merriam-Webster, the definition of religion is this: a personal set of institutionalized systems or of religious attitudes, beliefs, and practices. So, like, it's actually pretty value neutral, the word religion itself. It isn't about earning anything. The word on its own. These are the beliefs I believe, and these are the practices I practice according to these beliefs. That's what a religion is. You believe a thing, you practice a thing because you believe this thing. There's like a connection. And so when someone says something like, it's not about religion, it's about relationship, they are, in fact, making a very religious statement. They're saying, I believe this about my religion, and so I don't do the things you do. They're saying, this is my personal set of beliefs, and what could be more religious than that? Sometimes when people say that faith is a relationship, not a religion, what they really mean is, the way you practice your faith, I'm finding a way to be dismissive of that, but the way I practice my faith is so sincere, it's almost like I'm in a relationship. Me and Jesus are going steady. So, don't let anyone make religion a dirty word for you. Sure, there have been moments and movements throughout history where the church has really seemed like people thought that everything with God was just a transaction, and that by simply doing religious activities, you could win God's favor. We had a whole reformation about that. But not many people actually believe that stuff. Even people who are part of the most highfalutin religious traditions that even those folks who have lots of practices that seem very foreign to me and maybe to you, most of those folks truly usually believe that those practices are ways to access the love of God that was already there. And it helps them embody that in their lives and to remember it with the things that they're doing. And it's not some holy merit badge system to prove their worthiness to God. So, have people done terrible things in the name of religion? Absolutely, sure. Have people done beautiful, kind, generous, life-giving things in the name of religion? Absolutely. And for me, religion is a value-neutral word. It's what you do with the system of belief beneath that word religion that actually matters. The book of James in our Bibles has some great commentary on this. It says, if you think you are being religious but can't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself, and your religion is useless. Religion that pleases God the Father must be pure and spotless. You must help needy orphans and widows and not let this world make you evil. So if you use your religion to justify bad behavior, your religion is pointless. And the kind of religion that works is pure, and it results in a right relationship to this world and to God. Caring for orphans and widows, which really just means whoever the most disadvantaged and disenfranchised people in your world are. Your religion, like by definition, has to transmit into care for those people somehow. And that brings us to the other side of this coin, the word relationship. Specifically, we're talking about like a relationship with God. Just off the top of your head, I'm inviting interaction from those who are here, or you can type it into the comments online. What does it mean to you to have a relationship with God? Because that is a very loaded, big phrase in our world. What does that mean? Oh, yes.
I think part of it is the way that I practice my religion is that I don't feel like I need intermediaries to speak with him.
Yeah, that's great. So what Karina shared is that you don't need an intermediary to get to God. You don't have to filter through a church or a priest or anyone else, that you can get straight at God. That's great. Thank you. Anyone else? Sure. The presence of God is actually a felt thing. That through experiences, through people. Mm-hmm. Yes. Like the reality that we can know God. God is not just far away on a cloud, but God knows us and we know God, and there's something there.
I think like relationship also means interactive, like a two-way street, as
Sure.
opposed to if I think of something very religious, it could be very separate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just receiving what is coming at me from the institution or worship or relationship. It takes a little bit of work, I guess, and effort on your part.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, institutional and that institutional religion thing can feel one way. I come as a consumer and I just receive, but relationship implies back and forth. Like if you had a relationship with a friend and the friend is the only one who ever did the talking, you don't have a friendship. That person's a telemarketer. You should hang up, right? It's
I think there's also an element of individualism.
mm-hmm.
Like, I don't feel like I'm just a flock of sheep.
Yep.
I'm not a number.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows me.
Yes.
And that's also a really meaningful part of my belief system.
Yeah. There's an individualization that's available through that concept of relationship. I just read a quote this week. Can't tell you where. Didn't put it in the slides. But what it said was, no two people have ever believed in the same God. Because every one of us has a different experience in the world. We all have different emotional and intellectual filters. And even though, like, even in this room of people who've decided to all be part of this specific church, we have the same general concept around what that means. Like the specifics, there's stuff that's buried in our consciousness that we can't even unpack verbally. So, like, yes, the individual thing where it's my own journey, my own connection to God, all that matters. And so, like we've shared here, when we envision our relationship with God as something personal, it actually can be something quite beautiful. Like a friend you turn to in good times and bad times, like a companion through life, like a constant presence in a changing world. Having a relationship with God takes God out of the theological, mystical, and puts God into the category of person who knows you and connects with you, the real you. It can feel very close and yet so big at the same time. Like I'm in touch with this God that fills every part of space and time, but is also right here with me in this exact moment. In this moment, and this moment, and the one after that. I really appreciate that about the image of relationship with God, but honestly, that's not what everyone means when they say relationship with God. We've got some very deep people here with us today. Especially if I think back on the religion versus relationship conversation, they say things like, religion says do, Jesus says done. And I get the sneaking suspicion that they don't mean the same thing as we do when we talk about relationship with God. Tell me if this experience is familiar with any of you. And I know all of you, so I know in advance the answer to this question. You're at youth group or church camp or some church service somewhere, and you hear the preacher talk about having a personal relationship with Jesus. And it's not about what you've done wrong or anything like that. It's about asking Jesus to live in your heart so that you can be saved and live eternally in heaven someday. Have you ever heard that sermon before? Mm-hmm. I gave that sermon before, so don't worry about it. Let me just flip through my notes here. I'm going to read a comprehensive list of all the Bible verses that describe exactly how that process of inviting Jesus into your heart works. Just give me a second here. Comprehensive list. All the Bible verses that describe how that works. End of list. Here's the secret. Most of the language around personal relationship with Jesus is just code for getting saved. And in this very specific evangelical kind of language or personal relationship. It often gets twisted to mean my faith is a very personal thing that I don't need to talk about, or I don't need to have show up in my life in any particular way. I got saved. A long time ago. Had this experience a long time ago, and then I got this impression that that's it. I got the relationship. Jesus and I exchanged business cards, and now we're good. Mission accomplished. Ticket to heaven punched. Let's go. And do you see what just happened? That's a very real and very present belief system in our culture. And the people who use the personal relationship language in that context are just as guilty of a transactional approach to faith as the people they accuse of trusting in religion. If I do this thing, pray this prayer, walk up to the aisle, God will like me more. It's just that in this case, the thing is saying a prayer, having a specific belief, instead of thinking that God likes you better because you go to church or mass or whatever. So, what have we learned so far? The word religion is often used to be dismissive or dismissive of different expressions of faith. That's just religion, it's a nice way to brush someone off. While the word relationship can, strangely enough, point to a kind of faith that is just as transactional as the religion that they're trying to avoid. Turns out words are complicated things. Their meanings can get twisted around and have totally different implications depending on your context. So I've got a couple other words that I'd like to suggest are just as helpful or more helpful even in describing what it's like to be connected to God. Because that's what we're trying to do with the word religion and relationship. We're making a mental framework and an internal metaphor of what it means for me to be connected to God. And maybe it's through systems and beliefs. Maybe it's through something less tangible like a friendship or relationship. So these words are not replacements. They're just additions, because the life of faith is so vast and varied that one or two or a million words will never fully contain it or describe it. So at the end of today, we'll have 4, which is a good start. The first word I want to use to add to describe faith better is the word reformation. This isn't a new word. Of course, there was a reformation of the 1500s that led to the emergence of the Protestant church. That's everybody who's not Catholic or Orthodox, for the most part, can give their thanks to that rise of a different flavor of faith. But if we break the word down to its fundamental parts, rather than just thinking about the Reformation back then, the word is really about reforming. And to me, being a person of faith means you're always in process. You're never done. When a tradition or church or practice doesn't fit, you don't just complain or bow out. You jump in to be part of the solution. When old patterns of living or believing don't feel right anymore, you don't wallow in apathy. You reform. Evolution and adaptation are natural parts of what it means to be a living thing. And I think the concept of spiritual reformation is captured really well in these words from Philippians 3. It says, I have not yet reached my goal, and I am not perfect, but Christ has taken hold of me, so I keep running and struggling to take hold of the prize. My friends, I don't feel I have already arrived, but I forget what is behind and struggle for what is ahead. Reformation isn't about reaching the goal. It's not about being perfect. It's about striving to discover all that God is calling you to be because of the love that's taken hold of you. Here at Roots and Branches, like I mentioned, we're in the midst of our own mini reformation. We're giving up on the grind to achieve or live up to other people's standards as a church. We're on a quest to be our unmanicured self as a community. Like I said, our motto here is, we aren't for everyone, but we're for anyone. And we're realizing that in new ways lately. We know that God isn't done with our reformation as a church and a community. And we're going to participate in that next step of living into what God made us to be. That's what it means to view our connection to God as reformation. We can do it individually, and we can do it as a community too. The final word I want to suggest as some new language to help you describe what it means to be in connection with God is reorientation. Yes, all four of the words start with R. I get my preacher gold star of the day. We all know what disorientation is, right? The sense of not knowing where you are or what you're doing. The word disorientation makes me think of stepping out of a movie theater and it's still daytime, right? Or reorientation is the process of relearning how to re-navigate your world after something has messed up with your perspective, your way of living life, like adjusting to life after your first child is born, or relearning how to walk or talk after a stroke. So reorientation is neither good nor bad, it's just what you need to do next after something changes. And there are two reasons why you might need spiritual reorientation. The first is that your understanding of God changes. And if you're on a spiritual journey of any kind, if you're making movement and not stuck, then this should happen a few times in your life. When I realized that the Bible was just as much a human book as a divine book, that took some reorientation. When God changed my heart and I knew God's family was open and loving and inclusive and celebratory of all its LGBTQ plus siblings, I had to do some reorientation. The other reason, so in all of us, maybe your mind has changed on something else, maybe your heart has changed on something else. Whatever it is that shifts in you, once the thing inside of you shifts, you need to figure out how you live out your faith will reflect that shift internally. The other reason we go through reorientation is when the world changes around us, and now we need to make sense of our faith in light of new realities. One of the key moments like this for me was after the shooting of Philando Castile here in the Twin Cities a few years ago. Until then, as a suburban white guy, racial and police violence seemed like a faraway problem. But after he was murdered for following the rules, I realized that this was my problem too, and that my faith had to have something to say about racial injustice and the problems with policing in our society. I had to fold this new reality into my system of belief and then learn new ways to walk through my life as a person of faith in light of these new realities. So sometimes the new reality happens inside of you, sometimes the new reality happens outside of you, and for both reasons, you need to find a new way to live. here's my little summary of the 4 R's I've talked about today, and each one has the biggest, and each one has a benefit of that understanding of connection to God, connected right there with it. Take a look on the screen with me. So the first word was religion, and those are systems and practices to sustain our faith. We all do those. We all have those. Even people who say they are of no faith, they have practices that reinforce that. There's relationship, a sense of intimacy and personal connection to faith. Reformation is a willingness to change and improve in faith. And reorientation is finding new ways of living out faith after change. So the reality is that none of these is a full picture of what it means to connect to God. And none of these will be the perfect summary of where you're at or what you need. It isn't religion or relationship any more than it's reformation or reorientation. All of these things are necessary elements for us to do the kind of heart exploration that is needed to embrace all of who God made you to be. And there are a million more words that might capture that connection for you. Some of them might even start with R, but it's fine if they don't. And when you take those steps to follow through on faith with community, trusting that the love that brought you this far will carry you into the future, you can explore new depths in your own soul and find out what those practices are that make this world a better, more loving place, that deeply connect with who you are. So, for the next few minutes, I want to invite you to turn to 2 to 4 people sitting near you, and I want you to share which of these 4 descriptions of connection with God feels most important to you right now, or stands out to you in your experience. However you want to talk about it. Pick one that stands out that you need for your own soul today, and talk about why that is. All right, just for the next couple minutes. thank you for engaging in that time. Thank you for offering yourselves a little bit of vulnerability to the people seated around you. That's a big deal to me and for your own soul as you grow into who God made you to be. I want you to join with me in prayer for just a moment. God, each one of us seated here has our own unique individual path of connecting to you. And it's going to look different, and we're going to have different language around what that connection looks like. And yet here we are, in the same room, breathing the same air, and breathing in the same life-giving Spirit, however we conceive of it. And so we ask that through all of the diversity in belief and practice in this world, that you would draw us together as one, to make love and grace as universal in people's experience of this world that you made as we can. And that you'd stir in us to be part of the good you're doing in this world. Amen. One last closing song today, which I did with a daughter or two a couple months ago, so it's going to be new. But I love how this song explores all the highs and lows of being a person of faith or unfaith, faith or doubt, whatever it is. Know that God's love is real. Or even if you don't know that God's love is real, know that I believe God's love is still there to be found wherever life leads you. God of my faith, God of my doubt, God of my being, within and without, you are a good Father, patient and proud, oh God of my faith, God of my doubt. God of my sorrow, God of my joy, God of my body, God of my soul, you are a good counselor, loving and whole, oh God of my sorrow, God of my joy. Where I am, there also you will be. Join with me if you can. And where I am, there also you will be. God of my chaos, God of my peace, God of my waking, God of my sleep. You are a good watchman, steadfast and meek, oh God of my chaos, God of my peace. And where I am, there also you will be. Where I am, there also you will be. God of my winter, God of my spring, God of the harvest, God of the seed, you are my provider, all that I need, oh God of my winter, God of my spring. And where I am,